Wonder Woman issue 28, legacy number 828, Tom King writing with Daniel Sampeere on the art. So this is the final issue of the arc, although in many ways it's kind of an epilogue issue because the fight itself happened last issue, and this was more about sort of doing some cleanup of what happens to this place now, this island, now that Mouse Man's been defeated, but also teasing some big stuff to come with the matriarch, this future villain, the daughter of the monarch, all that stuff. And there's some interesting bits in here with like them, finally speaking what they want, and like this one truck driver who can't, and it's actually Superman who's there saying it's okay, you say whatever you want, So
I love that the way that panel goes out, right? It's 4 panels and then one big one on the bottom, and you just see the voice from off panel saying, "Oh, please, no need for that," because the truck driver's doing the Mouse Man nose with the hands up like ears. He goes, "I don't work for Mouse Man." And then when you turn the page and it's Superman and he's going, "I work for you." And just the complete, just those, again, it's 6 panels overall, just getting to the crux of how different this is now for these people. It is efficiency in storytelling. Yeah. And I really appreciate King and Sampeere for that. So
yeah, and then you've got Diana going to see Mouse Man in hospital, who's very banged up and chained to the bed. And basically says she's not going to take him back to Themyscira for punishment because she could do that and it would not be merciful. She will agree to let him go and be punished by the people who he wronged here on the island, and maybe that'll be much more lenient and whatnot. But basically kind of says, what was the line said that I really liked? There are devils in paradise, Mouse Man, and they too have ears. I really like that line. To throw his Mouse Man have ears thing back in his face.
Well, I love the on the next page too. She continues that where she says, "You robbed your people of their talk. I see no reason that you should retain yours. Do you understand?" I love when Wonder Woman gets sinister a little bit like that, right? Because she has seen what the society is like.
Well, Hunt, finish it off. You've not finished it because then she leans in and he responds with Wonder Woman knows, and then she says good. So that's the capper to it, is that he says just the same thing that he was having other people say about him, but he says it about her, and it's kind of a just neat little ribbon on that whole idea.
Yeah, it's just that thing where we're lucky she's on our side, right? Like Wonder Woman is one of those things where you're just like, man, it's good that she chooses compassion and not hatred, and I feel like that's what we're gonna get with the matriarch, right? Where it's almost like, what if we invert that? What if someone that is as strong and as powerful as Wonder Woman uses those powers for bad? So this page right here, that little hint of it, I thought was really well handled.
Yeah, the matriarch, we see her in the future get into a gladiator style arena, and the only confusing thing here for me was that I wasn't sure if these were the real older versions of some of these villains, or if it was just people that she'd had dressed up to be them. Because the first guy who comes out, the way he says, "Well, I was just in my house," and he seemed confused. So I was like, "Oh, they've just dressed people up as Wonder Woman villains." So because they're saying basically over the announcer, like, "Hey, Wonder Woman, almost died fighting all these super villains, but our matriarch can do it easily. Look at her stomp on them," kind of thing.
Yeah, they're gimmicking, her feats, and I think at least this one, Angleman, I definitely think that might just be a guy, right, that's dressed like him.
They couldn't find the real one.
Silver Swan. Yeah. Or, and we get to Silver Swan, that feels like the actual Silver Swan in Dr. Psycho,
well, no, Dr. Psycho doesn't seem like him, though, does he?
It doesn't? Yeah, he does.
I don't know.
He looks short-statured and older.
I guess that was my thing, though. I didn't think he looked short. At least not Dr. Psycho short. He looks more, I don't know, penguin height to me in that panel.
Maybe. I'm looking at the where he gets the sword ran through, when she throws it at him. And it seems like his proportions are about right there.
I don't know. There's nothing to scale to show how tall he is. I think that's the problem. Yeah. Because I wasn't even thinking about it until I assumed they were all fake, and it wasn't until they got to Giganta where I went,
Yeah.
oh, this does seem like her, and she looks older, which would imply that this is just the real person who's much older, because of the way they've drawn her face. And I was like, okay, this might be the real one then.
Well, you didn't think that was Silver Swan? When the way she's going on about you're trying to hurt, she goes, all you do is try to hurt her.
In hindsight, I can see why it is the real Silver Swan, but in the moment, I thought it was just part of the act. I thought this was just, you're meant to be an ally of Wonder Woman, so you're going to say this kind of thing. So I get what you're saying, but I thought it was just kind of like the script, if you will.
Gotcha. Yeah, the only one that I felt was Angleman, and that's just because no one really knows who that is. Right, it could literally be anybody holding that.
Yeah, who cares? It's Angleman.
Speed square, right? But the rest of them I felt. But again, it's the whole idea of the matriarch's people gimmicking this to make her look as great as possible. And it's also like, where have I seen that in real life? Where we change reality to fit, certain things to make someone seem bigger and grander than they are.
So she's not accomplished any of this, but she's acting like, hey, this is so much easier for her versus Wonder Woman.
Yep.
We go back to the present day stuff, and Diana is saying goodbye to the girl. And again, I liked how they sort of brought back in the Mouse Man Knows thing here, where Diana's saying, hey, you're going to grow up to be someone, you're going to grow up to be a woman, and only you know who that is. Mouse Man does not know that. I don't know that, but you will. And it's kind of this nice little kind of like, self-individuality kind of moment of like, hey, you're going to grow up and be your own person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and it's a little bit scary because the girl's saying, well, what do I do now? And she's like, I don't know. And because you're free, no one will ever tell you what you should do now. That's something you have to discover on your own. So there's a little bit of, there's a reason why some people do seek comfort in being told what to do. There's a reason why that does appeal to some, but hey, you're going to be your own person. So I liked how this all wrapped up here.
Yeah, and that's what freedom truly is you're free to be who you need and want to be.
Yeah.
So, and I'm wondering if we're going to see her in the Wonder War, whoever this girl becomes, right? Because it feels like King's setting her up here with we don't know what you're going to be. Is she going to lead, this resistance against the matriarch with the idea of Wonder Woman?
I mean, I think it could go either way. I think this could be the last we ever see of her, and it's just left ambiguous because that works for the story, and it works for like just the idea of like she can be whoever. So it can literally be anyone because we'll never tell you. Or it could be seen a character for down the line when she's older. Also, the matriarch's got a Green Lantern ring. Let's just not gloss over that. In the future.
Well, we saw her earn that in those little clips from the last time we saw her, right? The little where she took out Hawkman and all this other stuff, and she has the power to have great will, which makes sense as a dictator, Yeah,
that's how she takes down Giganta. She blasts her with the Green Lantern ring. So that's that. And then Grail shows up again, looking kind of older. Back in present day, Batman and Superman are trying to grill out Diana for like coming here and sort of breaking some peace treaties and whatnot, and saying, hey, Diana, you knew you weren't supposed to do this. You knew there would be consequences. And Diana just kind of tells them to go shove it. I mean, that's basically the gist of that's at least the vibe of her response as she gets into her invisible jet, and also just kind of reiterates that this world isn't hers anymore, it's her child, so everything she does is for her child now. And even says to them, like, why didn't you tell me it would be like this, where everything you do is in service of them having a world to grow up in, as opposed to just being whatever you believe is right or wrong. Which is an interesting thing to pose. I don't know if I've ever explored that directly with Batman, this idea that, because he was so devout in his fight against, like, crime and corruption in Gotham. Did that like change in any way once he had a bunch of adopted sons, or is that something that changed with Damien specifically, or is it still kind of because he's so headstrong, he is still just Batman, but the kids fit into it in a way? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I almost feel like with Bruce, what you just said, the kids just fit in with it, right? He's building a better world for everybody, and regardless, that was Batman's mission: is that it will never happen to him. Whatever happened to him won't happen to others, right? That's his driving thing. That's why he becomes the Bat. Yeah. But for Wonder Woman here, where now it's like it's personal because she has this legacy, this daughter. She has I love the line too where she's reciting that poem, which is called "To a Mouse," by Robert Burns from 1785. Right. So I had to look all this up. And it's about the best laid plans of mice and men, right? And she recites this, and Batman just goes, poetry. Now, isn't that? And she tells Batman, you know, you have your rules, Superman and Batman. I'll have my poetry and her. And she shuts the door on the invisible jet. And I really thought that, right? Because yes, they have their rules, but Wonder Woman has to be a little bit more flexible in that, right? The threats that she's come up against, especially in this King run, you know, the stuff that she's been through. And now she has little Libby, right? No, Lizzie.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd phrase it as she has to be flexible, but she chooses to be. Like, that's who she is, you know, versus what they would do in the same situation. So, so it just teases at the end, you know, with the Grail being killed in the Colosseum at the end, and the matriarch holding up her hand in victory. It's like, okay, so we're doing Diana and Themyscira, it sounds like, next issue, and then in issue 31, which we talked about in the solicit, seems to be the start of the Wonder War. Which sounds fun, whatever it is. So excited to see what we're doing with that. So, yeah. So this was good. I mean, obviously, we loved the last issue. We rated that very highly. This is a very good issue, but it is like it's a come down, like, you know, calm issue. Even though it's teasing some big stuff, obviously, with the matriarch for the future, it's inherently not as high tense and emotional as the last issue was.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the denouement of this part of the story, where it's all coming down, and there is a sense of dread with this matriarch, and I feel like there's some twisty and turnings coming in the Wonder War. I feel like not as everything is what they seem, right? Because we have that Amazonian baby, right, that Emily had on the Mouseman Island. That's who we believe the matriarch is. Yeah, I was about to say, isn't that the matriarch? But I mean, maybe it's not confirmed yet. But we think it is. But that's what I'm saying. There's something about the way they're telling the story that there's something else. There's something else there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the twist is going to be that's not who the matriarch is, if it's somebody else, or if there's something that, you know, we didn't see coming with Emily and the reason that, you know, she was pregnant, because we still don't have those answers. Like, we assume she was working with the Sovereign. Right, and that's because this is what kicked everything else off. Well, it's been heavily implied that the Sovereign at least sees her as her heir. Now, again, the actual specifics of how that happened is completely unknown to us right now. Right. We don't know if, like, again, working together, I don't know if I'd jump to that, but, like, did he sneak some seed in somehow? That's what I'm saying. Like, he sees this, right, and we go from a patriarchy to a matriarchy, but all that seems to be different is that, like, she is now like the sole dictator, you know, like she is the everything, whereas the Sovereign used puppets, right, and he worked behind, but now it seems like the matriarch is the full focal point of whatever this is, and they're building her up as, look how great she is. Look at all the things that she's done. That Wonder Woman, it took her so much more effort to do, and she does with ease. So there, I feel like there's something just under, and I don't know what it is. She definitely wants the limelight in a way that the Sovereign didn't want. You know, he likes staying in the shadows. She seems to want to be out in the open, being celebrated. Maybe that's out of jealousy for, I was going to say Wonder Woman, but possibly Lizzie, possibly Trinity specifically, is maybe who she's jealous of. Well, she may be a rival, per se. And I want to know how much further into the future the Wonder War is happening, because, right, we see all the characters look older, right? And we have to assume that, remember, this whole arc started with that story. I think it was in Wonder Woman 700, I think. But the point you're getting at, though, is that Trinity's an adult already. Like, we're already at that point. And that's when this is set. So we're a good 18 to 20 years or something in the future. Right, but the point I was going to get to is that Damian and John are still around as Batman and Superman, right? Because they're there at the cave that she goes to talk to the Sovereign. What do you mean still around? Well, that's a weird phrasing for that. Right, so if the matriarch is taken over, right, and she's this ruler somewhere, right? She's taking out a Green Lantern, or she took out Hawkman and all this other stuff. Batman and Superman are still around somewhere, right? So you gotta think that. Well, what I was getting at, though, is like, it's just a weird way to phrase that, because presumably they might still be relatively new as those personas, if you know what I mean. You know, because when does Damian become Batman? Probably not for a while yet. I would reckon to expect. So Yeah, so I'm just wondering how far this goes and like why Lizzie was there to talk to the Sovereign, right? Going through all those traps, you know, to go hear the story and all that other stuff. So, but yeah, no, this issue is fun. The art's great, right? Sampeere.
Well, Sampere's always great.
Yeah, these quieter moments that feel so big just because of the spotlight that he puts on in the panels. You know, like there's this we kind of glazed over it, but one of the big, you know, mice that pulls like the cars or whatever is Diana's facing down, and she talks to it and squeaks, and it ends up calming down and rolls over, you know, and she pets it, and it feels like this big, huge, scary moment. And just the way that Sampeere draws it, right, to go from this big, scary mouse to, you know, this big mouse that, you know, wants tummy rubs or whatever. It's this nice tension breaking, you know, and that's up there with these quieter, more serious moments as well. So yeah, it's a really good issue.
Obviously this one's split into the two, and you've got like all the epilogue stuff is all the quieter character beats, and then all of the action is the monarch, or the matriarch, you know, future stuff. So it's nicely split in that sense, and does a job of teasing this villain that we're going to be building to. So all right, what are you rating Wonder Woman 28?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
I think the exact same score. Yep. I'm excited, but it was more about teasing the next big thing, and giving us a couple of like cool character payoff moments. But there's a couple of really strong scenes though. I particularly like the scene with the girl. I thought was really good.